How does a man sworn to save lives become the city's most prolific silent killer? For 5 years, a shadow hung over London's medical wards as patients checked in for care, but left in pine boxes. And yet, in the beginning, nothing about him suggested danger. There were no headlines, no disciplinary warnings, no internal alerts within the hospital system. Only routine. Consultations carried out in controlled environments, prescriptions issued under standard protocols, records filed exactly as they should be. He was not an anomaly inside the system. He was a perfect match for it, which is why no one questioned the pattern forming around him. Because in systems built on trust, normality is not just expected, it is assumed to be safe, and that assumption would define everything that followed. It did not begin with suspicion. It began with repetition that no one grouped together. A patient case recorded here. Another complication recorded weeks later. Another death attributed to expected medical risk. Each incident was processed individually. Each one had a plausible explanation. No irregularity large enough to trigger escalation. But when archived records were later reviewed across multiple years, a different shape began to emerge. The same physician's involvement appeared repeatedly, not clustered, not obvious, but distributed in a way that avoided detection, and that distribution was exactly what kept it hidden, because the system was designed to evaluate events, not relationships between events. And that gap is where the pattern survived. Every record was correctly filed, every toxicology report processed, every death certificate signed and archived, every prescription logged according to protocol. There was no missing data, no forged documentation, no obvious breach in procedure, which meant nothing appeared wrong in isolation. But isolation is not how patterns exist. They exist across sequences, and no one was tasked with reviewing sequences over time. So, the physician continued working without interruption, not because he was invisible, but because visibility without correlation is functionally identical to invisibility, and the system never bridged that gap. The shift happened only when a statistical review was conducted, not targeted, not investigative, just comparative. Across 5 years of archived medical outcomes, analysts began mapping relationships between physicians and mortality clusters. And one name appeared repeatedly in proximity to unusual outcomes, not in every case, but enough to form a statistically significant pattern. Still, even then, interpretation was difficult, because every case still had a legitimate explanation, which meant the investigation could not rely on individual incidents. It required aggregation at scale, and aggregation changes the meaning of everything that came before it. What emerged was not a single act of wrongdoing. It was a prolonged period where nothing was officially wrong, but something was structurally misaligned. 5 years of properly recorded medical procedures. 5 years of correct documentation. 5 years of unconnected outcomes forming a hidden structure. And by the time that structure became visible, it was no longer a question of intent. It was a question of oversight at scale, because everything had been recorded correctly, but nothing had been interpreted collectively. And that is where systems fail without ever breaking. At what point does correct data stop being reassurance and start becoming a warning that no one has aggregated? How many systems around us are functioning exactly as designed, while quietly producing patterns no one is comparing? And if everything is visible in isolation, what only exists when we look at it together? Drop your thoughts and like this video, because once trust breaks inside a system, you start noticing fractures everywhere. And if speculative, anomalies and reality fractures are your thing, this is your kind of channel.